Hey traders, this is Taylor with Top Pick Trading. I'm going to give you guys a chart review for today. So it is October 25th, 2023. It's Wednesday. So let's get started with the review. You can see since the overnight here, first bar opened, it was bearish and it pretty much stayed that way for most of the morning. Pushed up, went sideways, and then we got another second leg down that folded over into a range. So big picture, two legs down. Almost got to the measured move. You could try to measure this from a couple different spots. I mean, the leg really started like right in here. So we would have hit it if you went off of that one and then just went a little bit further. But I just kept it from the very first bar since we've been bearish the whole night. So I really didn't see too many trades today on my chart. I do watch a couple charts. I'm just going to review the main one today because there was a good bit of price action. But I think with speaking with some other people, my bars were different today. So sorry if your bars are different when you're reviewing this. But we're going to go off what I had. So like I said, pushed down to the overnight, got a correction, attempted a retest, then we got the true second leg up there. 8 o'clock came in here somewhere. We got that extra leg to a new high. Pushed strongly down here, just the first entry. We do get a second entry here, but it's so sideways. It looks like at the time it's just this strong move here with a break and new low, and it's a little inside bar. So I don't really necessarily like that trade. I think it's a bit too aggressive. But then by about right in here, you can tell it was a spiking channel down. You could have probably widened it as you went. Maybe it's at the start you had it like this, but still fit like, sorry, this. But you can easily widen it and see that it's holding off the lows here. So when you come back here and you get this second entry short, it's also a bit of a triple test. Tried to go higher here and even here again. So really almost like 2, then 3, and then 4 on a second entry short. It's a little bit far from the EMA, but pretty low risk. Yeah, it's 6 ticks. Right at that key entry point, and it's been so bearish. I think you got to take that. Almost marked it green because of the distance from the EMA, but I still think you got to take that. So, yeah, that's definitely a red for me. So it pushes lower, comes down to the lower side, chops sideways. We get a second entry short. Oh, sorry, actually we got one right here as well, but it's just a little inside bar, and this one's a little bit further, kind of close to the lows. If you're going for a smaller target, maybe you risk that, but I'm not going to mark that one. It is a triple test too, but still just inside bar, kind of sideways there too. I'd like something to come back to the EMA, and it does here. Unfortunately, we get the second entry short, but right into those lows. So can't take that. Push higher. You get a break and an attempt at a retest here. If this bar was a little bit better, maybe more bearish and closing like right in here, it's into that EMA, but you're probably going to get a new low right there. But unfortunately, yeah, maybe you risk that too, but for me, a little bit too risky. So it pushes lower. Comes back, chops back to the EMA, and then we just start working sideways through here. I was kind of a little bit afraid to mark longs just with how bearish it had been, but you got some pretty good test off the lows here. So if you're aggressive, maybe you mark some of these, but unfortunately no good bars off the high side, and we don't really get back to the highs right here, just very sideways. This one's just a, maybe you count that, but this looks more like the double test here, and it's third entry, so I don't necessarily like that one. This one's just a first entry, and it's 3 bearish bars, so, and it's also an inside bar, so not really a fan of that one either. And then the higher low is got a little bit of a tail on it. You do get a failure here, but it's really sideways and below the EMA. So fortunately, I just don't think it sets up quite nice enough to take. You're really more short bias still, or range at the least, but not necessarily long bias just yet, in my opinion. It does push higher, it gets a break and new high, and then we get a first entry, second entry. Problem is, at the time, I had my trend line like this. It's kind of wide, so I didn't really trust it. It is like a breakout pullback. So if you had this trend line, maybe, but the problem still is that it's a little bit sideways and your setup bar is the wrong color. So, maybe you risk that if you're playing a bigger picture, but locally it just doesn't look that great to me. So we push higher. Strong downtrend, no real retest of it. Chop sideways, pushes higher, no setups there. Push strongly here, and this could be an overshoot, like a double-sided, or 2 overshoots, I guess I should say. But this fits pretty nicely, so I think it is just this. It comes down, and you get a second entry short, and I actually kind of meant to mark this one. I think this is a little aggressive because you think that uptrend may retest, but, like I said, it could be an overshoot. This channel is really wide and looks odd, and this move right here was really strong. So, combined with the fact that it's a failed second entry long. It's also a second entry short. A little bit sideways, but I think you can probably take that at least to this low, and you know that's a smaller scalp, but you could have gotten a even a 3-point scalp almost. So I think that one's decent. Chops lower, and then we do get the retest here. Pushes higher, first entry unfortunately, and then you get this kind of like a visual second entry short, but bar's not perfect, and it's kind of top picking at this point a little bit. You know, it's a pretty good spot to guess that it is going to turn, because if you are measuring from the high of the day, it's like, yeah, I mean, to the tick, the 50% retracement, and that's a lot of times where it'll correct to before making a second attempt down. So, you know, just something to think about on that one. Maybe if you got a better bar and it was a true second entry. Pushes lower. Now all of our uptrends have played out, so I don't think you want to take a long. Just really chop sideways through here, very sideways. Pushes lower, get a break and new low, and now we're bouncing at this low again. I think this one, even if you're thinking the overall bias is going to be down, we bounced pretty strong here the last several attempts at this support level. It's really far from the MA, and this downtrend, in my opinion, clearly has a break and new low. So I think you can chance this one. I don't know if I mentioned it. Also a second entry long. Yeah, you're 4 points from the MA, so that's one you may want to take a chance on. Maybe drop a limit back. I'm not sure if this broke higher and then retraced. Otherwise, if it did, you could have gotten a pretty nice little limit entry there. Still against the overall bias, so marked it green for aggressive. Pushes higher, breaking new high. And then you get this lower high, but mine's really sideways. Drops lower, breaking new low. Pushes higher. You get a higher low here, and this one's actually somewhat tempting, but it's a little bit below. I wish it would have formed a little bit higher, because really the support looks a tad higher. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, okay, it actually didn't break lower, so scratch that. I wouldn't take that. Which is higher, no uptrend retest. You get a failure here, but it's really far down. The bar's kind of neutral, so no trade there. This ended up being like a spiking channel. No second entries through here, and everything's far from the MA. You get a second entry here, but it's a little far from the MA again. Know what it got you if you took it. Chops higher, break new high. And fortunately, this is just a first entry. At the time, you probably wouldn't have had this downtrend either. I was watching something more like this, and on my second chart, it actually fit like this. Maybe that's valid. I mean, it looks okay. Regardless, unfortunately, just a first entry. It pushes lower, another first entry, and then another first entry right here with sideways action. Pushes lower. No setup through here. This is a second entry, but you clearly got that micro uptrend in play there. Pushes higher. You get like a double test right here. Just a first entry. Bar's not great. Pushes lower. Comes back, gives you a triple test. And if you did have this trend line at the time, you already had this spiking channel down. This one's pretty tempting, but man, that micro uptrend there is pretty strong. 4 bull bars in a row. A little bit of wick on the lower side, so I marked that orange, which means a little bit too aggressive in my opinion to take, but you know, a decent context area just to keep in mind for the future. It chops sideways, but does work lower. Oops. And you end up getting a first entry, second entry long failure. I marked this one too aggressive as well, because failures in congestion and in rangy type action right into support are a little bit too aggressive for me. It is a good bar, but right into that support, so I think that one's too aggressive as well. But then we get this lower high below the support, and I really like this trade right here. I took this one. It pushes lower very quickly. This channel ends up holding. We get a second entry right here, but right into those lows, lower high, even lower than the lows. So no trades, unfortunately. Get a higher low here, but it's pretty close to the EMA, and we've turned here a couple times. Pushes up, you get a break, new high. Turns right off that resistance again, but it's a third entry. It does kind of look like 2 legs in general, but if you waited for the close, I mean, it's huge and right into the EMA, so I don't think that's a good one to take either. Maybe if you took the engulfing, but then at that point, you know, you got 5 bear bars in a row, or bull bars in a row, so still just a bit too aggressive. Then we chop sideways. You get a lower high, but congestion right into the MA, and it doesn't even trigger on the next bar. So it does drop a little bit lower, pushes high to the high side. You just get sideways chop here. You get a lower high right into the EMA. You get a failure, but at the time you didn't really have that channel. It looks like, you know, this little small one with a break and new low all in one bar. So not necessarily a fan of that setup. If it's set up better, with a better bar here, maybe you take that, but not on this chart in my opinion. Pushes lower, bounces off this support, break, new high, all in one bar, just a first entry. And then now we're just chopping sideways, higher low, but right in the middle of the range. Second entry, but right in the middle of the range. At this point, you're more range biased than anything. Pushes to the highs again. Micro uptrend in place, so no trade. And then you do get this retest. It's after 330, but a lot of times these get 2 legs to a new high, and that EMA held, so that makes me a little nervous of that one as well. If you did take that, it would have stopped you. And then that's 330. So not many setups on this chart. 2 give-me's, this one and this one. A couple too aggressive in my opinion, and then a couple aggressive, but probably worth still considering, these 2 right here. The long, since it's against bias, is aggressive, and the short here, just because you don't have much room, is a bit sideways. And also you're worried a little bit about this uptrend. So overall, not many setups, but still a couple really good trades. So hope you guys are enjoying this content. We'll keep it coming. Remember to check out our course, topicktrading.com. And feel free to reach out on YouTube or our email addresses, which are in the description, if you got any more questions. So thanks for watching. Y'all have a great one. Bye.